starting off part 3 of the Maestro story of Tale of Absolute Victory shall commence! You shall not pass! Okay. Part 3 of the Maestro story. Part 2, we left off where the Maestro was going into high school. He was in middle school, and he had no friends. He had absolutely nothing in life, in an extremely abusive family who did everything they could to keep him down, even though he did every single thing in life to make his life better. I remember I was so sheltered that I had to check out the Guinness World Book of World History book to actually see a girl in a bikini. That's the first time I ever saw a girl in a bikini, was when I checked out in the library the Guinness World of History book and looked at it, and I didn't even know what to do with it because I didn't know what irking it was. So I didn't know what irking it was. I stared at her and I was like, oh my god. And she wasn't even like hot. She was like a disgusting, she almost looked like a guy, but oh my god, it was still great. Oh my god. Like, a girl in a bikini was unbelievable. So I was so sheltered that basically I couldn't watch certain movies. Most movies I couldn't watch anything over PG, I think, or even G. Is that what it was? G. Oh my god, I have so much to say, but this all led to when I'm going into high school, I'm realizing who gets girls, and then I realized actors get girls, and girls love Zac Efron. In High School Musical, all the girls love Zac Efron, and I remember the one in elementary school, I had this crush on this one girl who's a disgusting uggo now, but she loved High School Musical and she loved Zac Efron. So all I wanted to do was be like Zac Efron and become a famous actor. And so that's where I realized that's why. And then that through me wanting to become a famous actor, I was so unbelievably good at acting. I'm so unbelievably good at entertaining. And through realizing that I was so good at acting, I had to try to have my personality come out, because no one ever knew my personality, even myself. I never had a chance to make a personality for myself, because I basically just stayed silent in class and at home. I mean, you can't have a conversation with C. Lori, my biological mom, because you could say something completely sarcastically, and she would take it literally in every single situation. So you could say something really normal, or as a joke, and then she'd be like, Michael, I can't believe you said that. You're gonna go to jail for that. Well, I can't believe you would harass someone like that. What do you mean? I just said it was a good, it was the most insane thing. If I can't even give you an example, because it's so ludicrous and insane that it's hard to even give an example. It's actually even hard to even give an example. But what I didn't realize my entire life was I was being manipulated. She would literally just tell me I would go to jail for swearing, and then I couldn't speak my mind, and it made it so I just didn't say anything. And since I got bullied so much in all of school, that I didn't think anything that I didn't think normal things were okay to say. I didn't all the other kids would just be answering questions or doing normal things, and I didn't think those things were even okay to do. So it just put me in a situation where I was never able to develop a personality of myself. So as I went throughout high school, I had to to be able to make friends and to be able to stop the bullying, all throughout high school, I had to create this new persona of what I think people might like or something to make myself stand out, because I just felt like I had absolutely nothing that would make me stand out. And when in reality, I had so much more to make me stand out than everybody else. Like, one thing that I did, and they used to call me Crazy Mike, because I would just do like I was like giving sodas out in the hallway or something, and like I remember I chugged a 2 liter Pepsi in my Spanish class, and that gets sent to the principals, and of course the principal couldn't do anything. He's like, "Why did you get sent to the principals?" And I said, "I was chugging a 2 liter," and he said, "Why did you get sent to the principals?" And the maestro was like, the maestro was chugging a fucking 2 liter in the middle of a Spanish class like an absolute hero. I had no reason to get sent to the office, and the girl's a grimy fucking gremlin bitch. And then he just let me go back to my next class. But like I did so many things that normal people wouldn't do to try to gain attention or be acknowledged in any way. And the only way, what I realized, the only way to get to be stopped. I hate fucking English! The only way to stop getting bullied was to, I realized throughout the years, was not even to stand up for yourself. Well, you should obviously do that, but to make the bullies laugh. Because if you make the bullies laugh, then they forget that to even bully you. Because if you're so hilarious and out of the ordinary, if you say crazy things and do things that normal people wouldn't expect, then they actually end up forgetting to even bully you. So as I made my way through 9th grade, I was getting bullied an insane amount still from middle school. 10th grade, same thing. And then 11th grade was key. I met this one kid, and he was part of the popular kids. And he was more like the softer one. He wouldn't really bully me. He was just like part of the group that stood there and bullied me, but wouldn't partake in it. He didn't really care. And I luckily randomly got in gym class with him. And during the gym class, he didn't have, this was like a loser gym class. Like, this was a pure loser gym class of all like the miswanted useless kids. So he didn't have anybody to hang out with. So for some reason, me and him actually got along great. So I started becoming his friend through that. And well, obviously I was never really his friend or any of these people's friends, but through that I was able to make friends with him and then continue on like my career of the being Crazy Mike, and through that let me be able to at least speak to a girl, and not in a way that would ever make them like me at all. Obviously, they absolutely despise, or they just thought I was like that crazy kid. I don't like, but at least that got my foot in the door to actually sitting with all the popular kids, or like got me in the door to actually talking to a girl. So as I made friends with this one kid, I started making friends with the rest of the group and started saying like random things that might be considered funny or just weird, or who even knows, like, and like doing anything I could to like show up on people's radars. And through that I've had so many embarrassing moments that like you can't even, like, no one can even imagine the like embarrassing, disgraceful, just complete peasant failures of the maestros. But through all those failures and through doing all that, it makes it so now I can walk up to any girl, hit on their mom and the daughter at the same time, and make out with them both. But through that, it makes it so I am the most confident person, and I would never get nervous, and I'm not scared of anything. So through all that absolute treachery and embarrassing moments that happened throughout my life, which I can give you so many examples. Like, one time I remember I walked across the stage at graduation. This is just one of thousands. And everyone was clapping. Great. Everyone was so happy. Everyone was clapping. and they call my name. The crowd goes completely silent. I walk across the stage completely silent, and I go to shake the principal's hand like everybody else did, and he turned away from me and dropped my diploma like on the. I don't think he meant to drop the diploma, but he like turned away from me, didn't even shake my hand, and then I like walked off in utter oh my god! Flashback! 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 Okay, I'm okay. My show has flashbacks sometimes. That was one of the many moments. And another one, just for example, I had no prom date. As I was making friends with the popular kids, I obviously had no prom date. This was 11th grade. This was the first prom. And this one kid, he was part of the popular kids, and he knew all the girls. So in the middle of the lunchroom, he stood up on a table and announced that I had no date and that I was a loser and that if any girl wanted to come with me just to go to prom, they could. And I was so happy that a girl wanted to go to prom with me, but she was obviously using me. But I was so happy. I didn't care. In the moment, but that's like a pretty embarrassing moment. Like, but I was just so happy that a girl was going to go to prom with me. Like. And I've had like a million moments like that where it's just so awkward and there's nothing I can do but just press on and like, or another one was one when after she said yes because she wanted to go to prom, she actually met with me in the hallway, and I had no social skills and I had literally no idea like what to say to a girl at all. Like, I was like, oh, so I really like you. Just like the first time meeting her. And she got so weirded out and then just like, she literally Mies sprinted in a full on like sprinter mode. She like tilted forward and started like sprinted away off into the hallway. And the maestro was like, ah! And then I remember I talked to her again and I said so for like 75 seconds, that was under exaggeration. I said so for like 4.5 minutes long in the hallway when I was talking to her. I was like, so. Just imagine this talking to a hot girl. It was longer than that. And because I just didn't know what to say. And that's how awkward it is. And then I'm like, how can I ever talk to this girl ever again after I just said so for fucking 4 minutes? And then, in another embarrassing moment, when I went to prom, C. Lori made me go in her car, and she drives like a disgusting 2000 Honda Civ. And I show up, and she's like heckling this girl, and she's like, so you must be dating him. Are you dating him? She's like asking all these weird fucking questions, and then she's like, why would you want to date him? And the girl just didn't know what to say, and her dad made her come in the car with me. Imagine that. The girl hates me so much that her dad had to make her come in the car with me to prom. And God, that was, oh my God, that was such a nightmare. And she had to sit next to C. Elizabeth. She literally had to sit next to C. Oh my God. Okay, so anyways, so those are some of my thousands and thousands of embarrassing moments. But throughout, like I was saying, throughout all my embarrassing moments, that's how I found out how to never get embarrassed and how to talk to people eventually. I still don't know how to talk to people barely. But, yeah, her dad respected me more than anything in life. That's true. Her dad was an absolute hero. Now she's probably a prego. And her dad probably likes the maestro even more. But through that, so as I was making friends with the popular kids, that's how I stopped getting bullied. But as I was making friends with those kids, they were the same kids that had been bullying me before. So I just made friends with the bullies, except I wasn't really friends with them. They would use me in other ways. Now they were using me instead of outright bullying me. They were like taking me somewhere, and whatever money I did have, because I did work a couple jobs and made like $100 or something or whatever. Hold on. Whatever money I did have, they made me spend it on them. And I was just so happy to be hanging out with them that I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think they were using me, but they were just using me to bring them places to go to eat. And then they even left me at the place that we went to eat. So we would go to eat at like a pizza place or whatever, and then they just leave me there, and then I'd have to walk home or something. And I remember this one kid stole my shorts, and it was just, they were never my real friends. So I never had real friends besides dad, of course, dad. And I always just was like on my own. And I remember walking the hallways alone in high school and them making fun of me because even the 10th graders wouldn't hang out with me. So then at one point, I was at a sleepover at this one kid's house. And remember, through part 1 and 2 of the story, you learn that I had no social skills from my upbringing. So as I had no social skills from my upbringing, they were talking about girls or whatever, and whatever they did with girls. And this one kid had sex with this other kid's friend. This one kid had sex with this other guy's girlfriend. And I didn't know that was like a secret or something, because I didn't have social skills, so I didn't know you're supposed to like keep that a secret. So I ended up telling, as senior year, this was senior year now, as senior year went by, I told that, and this was at the beginning of the year, and I said, oh my god, and I told it to this one girl, who obviously was the most untrustworthy little fucking Smeagol-like gremlin to ever exist, but I don't know, because I didn't know any better. And the guy was part of the popular kid group that bullied me in the first place. So telling that, then they had a reason to bully me, kind of. I mean, not really. You never have a reason to bully. I'm just saying they had literally no reason before, but this gave them like a reason to really. So then they put it on like double, and like I was ostracized so much I couldn't even hang out with the 9th graders. Like, so, and I don't know why he got mad at me. In reality, he should be happy that I told him that his girlfriend slept with another guy. Like, why would he get mad at me? Most delusional morons to ever live. But that's the way it was. And so then I got ostracized. So I didn't even have fake friends anymore. And I ended up just going through my entire senior year on my own. Again, almost back where I started, except I had gained that a little bit of like experience of what ways to go about things a little bit. That's literally just my first experience of really anything. So as I'm doing that, at home is absolutely horrible. C. Lori's telling me that the only reason I'm living there is because of child support that she's getting, and if she wasn't getting, once the child support ends, that's when she's kicking me out. That's when I was 21, she was trying to kick. That's why when I was 21, she tried to kick me out, because that's around when the child support starts to end. And that she wants me to live on the streets, and she wants me to beg for my food and money on the streets, and she would just belittle me and do all this like emotional abuse. And then the craziest thing about any of this was she would do all this stuff to me and then cry and say that I did it to her. And it was the most insane manipulation I've ever seen. I never knew what manipulation was until I actually looked at politics and realized what they were doing in politics, and I realized that's what C. Lori was doing my entire life. So just for like a small example of what she would do to me in my entire life. But obviously I stopped loving her after I never loved her in the first place, but I despised her beyond belief after she called the cops on me when I was 14 and said that I had hit her when I did not. and the cops came, and I had no social skills, so I didn't know what to say to the cops. So then the cops brought me outside in handcuffs, and that was one of the most humiliating thing of all time. And that's why when they came in the room that one time, I made sure to get everything on videotape. And thank God I did, because when the cops came this time, I had everything on videotape, and I showed it to the cops, and they were like, "Yep, you can go back inside." That was when I was about to leave, when I was when I came to Texas, and uh when I came, and because that set me over the edge. Obviously, I was planning on leaving all these years. I did everything good in my life, my entire life. Oh, and the craziest thing is about when she called the cops on me when I was 14 and said, or 13 probably, and said that I hit her. She had punched me in the face and scratched me across the ribs, and then she called the cops on me. It was the craziest thing of all time. And I didn't know how to since I had no social skills, I had no idea how to express that to the cops. And I had actually taken pictures of my iPad of it, and uh, and of course, C. Lori got a hold of that, uh, and deleted all my stuff. Uh, but that was later, and I never had anybody to show it to, because I just didn't have anybody to show it to, because my whole uh cousins, if that kind of family, was against me already, because she had already pitted them all against me. Um, and they were calling me like a woman beater or something when I had done absolutely nothing. The craziest thing about this entire story is my entire life, all I did was try to not be. That's why I could hold my temper when all those kids could bully me. That's why I could hold my temper, because I had been going through all this, and I had to hold my temper in all these situations where anyone else would have went absolutely insane. And the craziest thing was, I was the best kid while getting bullied out throughout my entire life. I went to school. I literally did my homework every single night. I never didn't do it. I got it done like that night. I never missed a class ever. That's throughout all of elementary school, all of high school, all of middle school, and all of college. I never didn't go to a class. I went to every single class. I never missed a day. And I somehow through all that schooling I got dumber. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. Damn you, school! But as I was doing this, I made the choice to never drink or do drugs. I never drank or did drugs one time. I went to school and I came home and I had this burden of everything on my back pretty much all day, every day, that I had to deal with the bullies and then come home and get abused by C. Lori. And then it only got worse with my biological sister, because then they would team up on me. And when they would team up on me, it would be so insane, because since my biological mom already hated me, that meant whatever I did, even if it was completely fine, even if I was in the right and it was completely obvious I was in the right. For example, my biological sister would come by my room, say that I was a no-life loser scumbag, and I would be like, she just called me a no-life loser scumbag. And my biological mom would say, well, you are. It's good that she said that. That's the kind of insane abuse and manipulation and team up it was. So, my stream's laggy right now. Fucking bitch, no. Oh my god, no. No. My thing is so far behind. Oh my god. That's so annoying, man. I'm so sick of this fucking lag, man. I'm so sick of this fucking lag. Now it's ruining my fucking story. It's actually so annoying. Garbage fucking internet can't handle fucking 1500 bitrate, dude. It's actually a joke. It's actually a joke. Alright, well, continuing with my story. Can you still hear me? Question mark. So continuing with my story, Oh my god, dude. Can C-Pro fix his fucking internet once in life? Um, uh, now I literally wrote my story and I'm so fucking mad I want to go insane. Shut the fuck up, Daddy's mommy! Um, well, I actually might have to tell my story later. Dude, this is so annoying. Why does my stream do this, man? He's such a joke. Actually, such a joke. Oh my god. Okay, so anyways, back to my story. So, basically, so where I left off was where C. Elizabeth, my biological sister, they would completely tag team up on me, and make it so I had no way to ever get justice. There's no justice because she let my biological sister do whatever she wanted. So my biological sister could do literally whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, to me, no matter if it was completely wrong and the most devious, disgusting, awful thing. And it wouldn't matter because for her, my biological sister was always in the right. And I had so much good stuff to say, and I'm so fucking annoyed that the stupid fucking stream is complete garbage and I have nothing in my life. So what they would do is they would plot against me, like in a premeditated manner. And I ended up getting that on video. And, because it was so hard to describe. Through my whole life, it was almost impossible to describe what they did to me, because it was so, since I had no social skills, and since it was such a high manipulation, it was almost impossible to explain what they did to me. It had to be examples. And I finally got examples of what they did to me. And they would act completely different one way in front of people, and in a completely different way when they were with me. And I was such a good kid. I got my master's degree by the age of 21. I worked 7 jobs throughout that time, and I was taking 7 to 8 classes per semester to get my master's degree by the age I was 21, so I could just get out of that beyond horrible situation. And I had a bunch more videos that I didn't want to post because they actually will come after me. They don't want this to get out. They don't want people to know what I'm saying. They don't want people to know that this stuff is true. And I'm so glad somebody else took my video and put it up. So thank God they did that to show. And while I was almost like literally the perfect kid. Besides, I got bullied and I can't control that, obviously. And while I was taking 7 classes, working multiple jobs, and I was even paying Lori for my cell phone, for the hot water, and for the electricity. She would shut off my electricity, and what would happen was, while she was doing that, she would have my biological sister go down and shut off my electricity, or the other way around. She would go shut off my electricity, and then my biological sister would come in my room and take my stuff. And that's how she got a hold of my iPad. She stole my iPad, and she deleted the videos on my iPad. Then I had to literally be scared in my own home, because I had to lock myself in my room, and I didn't have electricity, because if I went down to go turn on the electricity box, then they would come in my room and steal my stuff. And I was scared of them getting into my bank account too, because before I was 18, she drained my bank account of over $5,000 that I had saved up from all my birthdays and Christmases. So I was scared of her taking that, and most importantly, she deleted my Twitter account. I'm skipping through the story ahead of this is past high school. She deleted my Twitter account with 20,000 followers. That was my whole entire life, and I wasn't able to get it back because she changed the email on it. She went and hacked my iPad, hacked into my iPad, went into my YouTube, which is illegal by the way, deleted a bunch of the videos of my YouTube. Thank God she didn't know how to delete my YouTube because my YouTube would be gone right now. I would have had to start new on my MyStube, and same for my Twitch. Thank God. And she deleted my 20,000 follower Twitter that I worked my whole entire life to build up. And she would tell my family that I had no job and that I was a no-life loser and that I would emotionally abuse them, and that it was the complete and total opposite. When she would emotionally abuse me every single day, tell me that she wanted me to live on the streets, would keep me and make me sleep in my car outside, and it's cold in New York, and she would not even give me a blanket. So she would lock me out, and then I would have no blanket, and I would be sleeping in my car without my keys. And as once the child support money ran out, that's when she really made sure to kick me out. And that's when she served me that eviction notice. Remember that? If anybody remembers that, that's when she served me the eviction notice. That's when the child support ran out. Because she could only get child support if I lived there. And the crazy thing about her manipulation is I would do all the chores around the house too. She would be in the kitchen and scream like a fucking banshee psychopath. Michael! Give me some fucking water! Michael! 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 I'm not kidding. Like that, in this insane, like, rage, psychotic banshee voice, to get her water. Or something as simple as that. While she was already in the kitchen, I would be doing the garbage, and she would stand over me and tell me that I'm doing the garbage wrong. It's just putting the garbage. What are you? It's just putting the garbage out. She would watch me do it. She would stand over me, make me do the dishwasher, and as I'm doing the dishwasher, she would already be telling me to do a different chore. And as I'm doing the dishwasher, which is what she told me to do, she was telling me I wasn't doing her other chore, so then I wouldn't get food later. Or I would get my electricity taken away. Or I would get my game taken away. Or I would get whatever. It was the most, and this is what I mean. And this is why it was so hard to explain to people what she did, because, especially with no social skills. When you're brought up with no social skills, it's so hard to explain all this kind of stuff that she did, because it makes no sense for the normal person. It's the most unbelievable thing. So, and this is the person who while I did all this good stuff, literally all I wanted to do was sit in my room and be left alone. I would go up in my room and I would sit there and I would not say a single word to them, and they consider that emotionally abusive. They consider me not talking to them emotionally abusive, because this is what goes through their complete psycho minds. And this is the type of person who my biological sister was sneaking out in the middle of the night at 13 years old to go to parties and hang out with guys at 13. And she was not being reprimanded. And I was 20 years old, and I wasn't allowed to have a girl over my house, and I wasn't allowed to go anywhere or do anything at 20, at 21. It was the most insane thing. It was the most insane. It's the most blasphemous thing of all time. Like, there's no way to even describe it. It's insane. So, while this is going on, I was being bullied at school. At the same time, all this was always going on. And I still managed, and I still just pressed on anyways, and just because I knew I was meant to do something great in life, and I knew that the only thing you can do is press on when you're in these horrible situations. You just have to press on until the end of time, until your life gets better. she really like was not ever a mom. I would never call her mom. She would go out 4 nights a week. She's 60 something years old. She's going out 4 nights a week partying when she's like 60 years old, and it's the most disgusting thing. And the craziest thing was after she would go out, she would say, after she would go out and spend all this money going out, then she would come home and be like, I don't have any money. Don't turn the lights on. You don't get to turn the lights on. By the way, this is while I'm in the fucking room. I need the fucking light on in the room. Like, it's the most insane thing. Like, and that's why I was literally paying for my electricity too. And it's basically like living under duress, especially when the thing happened where she hit me in the face with the keyboard. After that happened, I was living more under like duress. Like, I really couldn't do anything without it being like I couldn't leave the house because she was gonna take all my stuff and lock me out. So I couldn't leave the house. I couldn't go get food. And I didn't have a credit card at this point, so I couldn't just order stuff. And I don't like using my credit card either because I don't want anything to get stolen or anything. But you don't support me. You didn't even sub to me, peasant. The craziest thing was, you saw on my Twitter, I had to put weights in my weight bench in front of the door to keep them out. And I remember one morning they were smashing my door in. And if there was like 450 pounds of weights in front of the door, and if that wasn't there, and thank God I put that in front of the door, I preemptively, because I think of everything preemptively. I know what's going to happen. I know what goes through their minds. I know what they're plotting. And I put all that stuff in front of the door, and thank God it kept them out. And I just woke up to it, and you should have seen the maestro. It was so heroic. These psychopaths were smashing in the door, and the maestro literally just fucking nonchalantly went back to sleep like a true hero. It was so fucking legendary. And how laggy is it? What part am I at now? How laggy is it? And I'll be back someone soon. Okay, and so as I'm living like this, throughout my high school, this is a long one. I told you part 3 is one of the best parts. As I'm going through high school, I had like so many legendary moments, and I might even save those for another story time. Like, I did have some legendary moments that normal people would never go through. Like my insane first kiss story, the first time I had sex, a bunch of insane stories that no one would ever have unless they live like a pretty crazy life. And one of the craziest things that happened to me was C. Lori also ripped off the door to my room and then tried to say that I did it. She bent it completely backwards and ripped it right off its hinges. So I didn't have a door. Dad can tell you. He'll tell you it's true too. Dad can tell you that. I didn't have a door for like 6 years. So I had to put my fully ripped off door in front of and just like I had to set it in front of my door. That was my door. Shut up, Daddy's mommy! You donate again, buddy. And I had to put it completely in front of my door. My door that was off the hinges. So, and in front of like the big hole that would, where your door would be. And, so basically it was like almost like a nightmare waking up every day because I never knew what was going to happen at school or at home. And it was so like, it's so weird because I never knew what she was going to do because she was so sporadic. She would change her mind every 2 seconds. I remember one time we were driving in the car, and this was probably when I was like 15 now. And she just pulled up to a cop car randomly and tried to have the cop arrest me, just randomly. We're just driving home, and at some like grace of God, the cop just drove away. The cop literally just drove away. Um, and I'll always remember like times like that when I get like those are the times where I like got so scared because I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to do because it was such a like insane thing. Like, why would she pull up to, like to the cops like that? Just an insane psychopath. Um, but as high school went on, I kept developing my personality, and the Maestro was just way more unique and legendary and heroic, and I would never do what any of the other kids would do. If the other kids were doing something, I would make sure not to do it because I don't want to do what the other kids are doing. I don't care what the other kids are doing. I want to like do things that I like and or like do things that are not the same as them. And throughout life, I learned that more and more. That it's so much better to not be like those kids. And the way to get justice against all those people who bullied me is to have a better life and have them see that I have a better life. So that's why I work hard every day, because I know eventually my life will get better, and it keeps getting better. And especially as I start meeting better people, like great people like HTTP and Bernice and C Probe. Devious fuck at first, but it's turned out to be pretty legendary. And Sex Niece's hot cousins, who the Mice would love to seduce sexually, of course. But I did meet some good people along the way. And but in high school, I really was completely alone, pretty much, besides Dad. I always had Dad. Not my biological dad, but Dad who created me out of thin air when I was just a small infant. And now I'm looking at my notes to see if I need to add anything. So the moment when she called the cops on me, and this was for the sixth time that she's called the cops on me. That's when she hit me, after she hit me in the face with the keyboard and called the cops on me. The cops came, and I showed them the video, and I knew she wasn't going to let me back inside. And then the cops went up to the door and told her she had to let me back inside. And you should have seen this fucking disgustoid's face. Her face was in this wrangling heap of pure evil, and the Maestro was laughing. I was so happy. And that's when I had to barricade my door in, though, so she couldn't get to me. But, oh my God, you should have seen her face when she was told by the cops who she called that I had to be let back in. It was so fucking legendary. Pure evil, though. Pure evil at its finest. What about your biological dad? He left when I was... You can look at the Lori explanation for that one. He left when I was like 12. I'm sure now he didn't want to deal with C. Lori ever, but he was abusive to me too, so I never had a dad, because he would hit me. I remember one time he dragged my entire side off a ledge and scraped up my entire side. But really, all that isn't as close to as bad as Lori doing that my entire life to me. And like scratching me, and then my dad didn't manipulate. My biological dad, he never manipulated like Lori did. And oh my God, the parallels are kind of almost like a little bit insane. She did the same thing to my biological dad that she did to me, but even worse to me because I was around for longer. Because I remember he would say none of my family liked him because Lori would tell my family all these things about him, which some of them were true, but she would make it sound either way worse than it was, or just completely make up complete and total lies about him. But of course he was abusive too, but I'm just saying she would still make up complete and total lies. So, yeah, my dad left they got a divorce when I was 12, and then that's when I moved in with Lori because of the manipulation, and because she wanted the child support money. So, basically, I'll tell more about. Well, I'm gonna tell more about my college, and then all the exact things that happened to make me move out in my next video. The Story of the Maestro Part 4, A Tale of Victory. But going back to like high school a little bit more, because that's what I'm mainly doing, just high school right now. Besides a couple of the stories were from like recent. I was only able to shower at like nighttime because I didn't know if they're going to go into my room and take my stuff, so I always had to stay in my room at all times. And when dealing with them, I learned the only thing you could ever do is say absolutely nothing. If you didn't say nothing, then they would take what you said, completely lie about it, and even if you said nothing, they would take what you said and completely lie about it. And make it so like it was impossible to have an actual conversation with these people because they would just be saying things that didn't happen, or saying things that didn't happen, or saying things that were completely untrue and twisted in the dumbest ways. And basically she had no logic behind anything that she did. So like I could wake up and I was just going about my day doing absolutely nothing, and she would just go absolutely insane and say that you don't do anything around the house, you do absolutely nothing, you shouldn't be living here, just like randomly throughout the day. Like, even if I had, and the craziest thing was, she would promise things. So she'd say, oh, go do the garbage and then you can have your food. Go do the garbage and then I'll turn your electricity on. Go do the garbage and then we can go somewhere. Go do the dishwasher and then we can go do something. And then I would of course do it because I was, at this point I was dumb enough. This was like throughout my life until I was 16. I was dumb enough until I was like 16 to realize that what she was doing was she was promising me something, and then after I would do it, so I would do the thing that she asked me to do, then she would tell me to do another thing that she told me to do. I mean, that she didn't tell me to do. So I would actually never get the reward that she promised. So basically, she would tell me to say like, if you come with me and spend all day with me, and go to the counselor, then we can go. Then I'll let you play World of Warcraft for an hour, because she wouldn't let me play video games or World of Warcraft at all when I was a kid. That's why I was never able to raid or do anything. But so for example that, and then I would do it. I would go do whatever she wanted me with her, and then she would completely switch her thing, and then make me do 20 other things before I actually got to do that. So what I realized was, never do anything that she says. Always defy her. Never do anything that she says, because if you just ignore her completely, that's your best option until you get out of there. Ignore her completely. Don't ever bend to her manipulations ever again. You already know you hate her. You already know you don't ever love her. And make sure you never bend into her manipulations ever again, and just sit in your room, go to school, do all the things best for you, and just ignore her as much as you possibly can. Did you at least pack you a lunch for? No, buddy, I literally already went through this, moron. She never packed me lunch. I never had anything for lunch. That's why I said one thing set me apart from the other kids. I never had any lunch, so I looked weird as fuck. I already said that in my story part 2, learn to read. Well, my hates reading, but and basically through such a bad relationship with my biological mom, it probably didn't help me talk to girls in life. But I mean, all the girls that I've ever talked to in life basically treat me how the bullies did, almost. It's almost worse than the bullies, because at least the bullies acknowledge my existence. Some of the girls that I try to talk to, or I get their number and then they don't even respond, it's like I'm non-existent, basically. Literally non-existent. It's like I'm like the dust on the... Even the dust is more existent than Maestro. Dust is more existent than the fucking Maestro. Damn you, dust! Seaproof Kevin made to clean up this fucking dust. But through that is probably why I've never had a girlfriend, and I can never trust a girl. And I've never had a reason to. All the people that I've met have never even seemed interested in me at all, and don't even take the chance to get to know me at all. And I will screech for them if I have to. But I think all that being unacknowledged my entire life, being unacknowledged in stuff like that, made me want to become rich and famous more than anything in all of life. That's all I cared about, is becoming rich and famous. Because I know I need something more than what I have to get girls so they come to me, instead of me having to basically chase them and them not acknowledging my existence. Make plans with me and blow me off and not care. So I will be something more in life, and I know I'll eventually get there, because the Maestro never gives up in his life. So, and I'm going to be successful against all odds. I ever know that. And the Maestro is one of the most unique and heroic people of all time. And I wouldn't change anything that I went throughout my life, because that's what makes me so strong today. And if I didn't go through all that, then who knows what would I be at today. Like, I never drank or done drugs. I got my master's degree. I have, like, a pretty good amount saved in my bank. Like, and I have a pretty good place to live, and now I have some good friends. So, in reality, my life really isn't that bad, and I'm probably way farther ahead in life than really anyone in my high school or anyone that I knew. Even though that I'm obviously not even close to where I want to be. I'm still probably farther than any of them. And through all those, like, embarrassing and horrible moments, I got my absolute Mies confidence from, and I'll tell you where I actually got my insane confidence from, but that's for another story. And I think I stand out in the crowd more than anyone. Even when HTTP will say it, even when I went to the mall, they remembered me from 2.5 months ago. The lady remembered me from 2.5 months ago. And HTTP will tell you, these people, everyone says I'm memorable. Everyone says I'm better looking in person. The Maestro is a Greek Odontus. I'm a Greek Odontus! But they tell me I'm memorable. Like, I have something, like, I'll never be forgotten. That's what somebody wrote in my yearbook. Unforgettable. Which was pretty cool. Even though I didn't have any friends, even though I didn't have any real friends, besides Dad and Uncle Paul, but I didn't get to see them very often. And the Maestro will make an epic, legendary, majestic, heroic, God-tiered return to absolute victory and greatness throughout his life, and my legacy will not die. And hold on. And I'm telling all these stories so that people know that there's so many more legendary stories to come for the Maestro, and that even though a lot of things bad can happen to your life, you can press on against all odds and still make great things out of your life. And I just want to tell the truth about everything that's happened to me, because I was never able to tell the truth about anything that's happened to me, because I've never had anybody to listen in the first place, because all my extended family was pitted against me. So there was no way for me to ever really talk to them, and I really had nothing in common with any of them anyway. So this makes it so I can actually get the truth out, and my story will not end, and I will achieve victory against all odds, and everyone knows that. And from all this, I really don't have emotions anymore. Like, well, besides when I see a sexy biatch, then the mini mice gets erect. That's an emotion. But besides that, I really don't get happy or sad or. Well, I get happy when I see a sexy bitch, but I just love hot girls. But well, I would never need Brad Pitt to play me. I would play myself. I'm the best actor of all time. I'm an unbelievably majestic actor. No one has ever got to see what I can do. I've never been in a position where people would. I've never had the opportunity to show what I can actually do. And I'm glad that through these videos I can show a little bit about what actually happened and explain it in a way people can maybe understand a little bit. And another thing that part of the manipulation my biological mom would do, for example, after she had called the cops on me and hit me in the face with the keyboard, about 2 days later, she calls up my uncle, hysterically insane banshee wail crying that she thinks I'm gonna hurt her. She thinks I'm gonna hurt her. She thinks I'm gonna do something. And the most insane thing is, I've been sitting in my room the entire 2 days, avoiding her, not saying a single word to her. And she calls up my uncle saying this to him. And then he thinks I'm gonna do something. When I've literally done absolutely nothing, while the day before she's smashing in my door. And it's the craziest fucking manipulation I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's why I can never explain these things to my extended family, because it's makes no sense. And she would do that kind of thing for every situation. And the favoritism that she showed to my sister was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Like I said, she could, for example, this is a great example. Like in Drake and Josh, Megan, the psychotic devil sister, lays on the floor and pretends that Drake and Josh pushed her down. Then screams. And then the parents come in, and Drake and Josh get insanely in trouble. And they're like, oh, we didn't do anything. We didn't push her on the ground because they didn't do it. But the most insane thing about that, this is where it gets insane. She could see the whole incident happen. Drake and Josh's parents didn't, obviously, right? Because they're in a different room. They didn't see it happen. They just believed Megan. She could see it happen. So, for example, Elizabeth could lay on the ground in front of C. Lori, say that I pushed her on the ground, and C. Lori would say, you're going to call the cops on you. I can't believe you would do that. What the fuck is wrong with you? And I'd be like, what the fuck? It would be the most crazy thing. And that's what was unexplainable. I explained it great right there. It's unexplainable because it's so wrong and twisted, and it makes no sense. You would say, how could someone ever do that? But that's what they would do. And that's why it was so insane. So it was the most insane, oh my God, that was the most frustrating thing of all time. Hold on. And that's why I knew the only thing that was best for me was obviously not to say anything at all, and then to move out as fast as I could, which I already knew. And I'm just so glad that I always said from the moment that she called the cops on me when I was 14 and said I did that thing that I didn't do, I would never love her, and I haven't since, and I've been so unbelievably happy even though I'm not happy in life, it's in life in general. The one thing I'm so unbelievably happy about is I'm away from them. It's the best thing in all of life. That's one thing that I'm so thankful for on Thanksgiving that I was thinking about. I'm so thankful that I made it out of that fucking horrible place and onto a better life. And I can finally start my life a little bit. And I'm in such a good position. I have my master's degree. I have some great heroic friends. I know for a fact HTTP would save me from Nazi zombies. He would lead out a chicken on a string, and he would kite them. But of course, I'm not thankful for you, Daddy's mommy. But I'm not sure why you did ask that. But you can lick the dust off my desk if you want. But that's one thing I'm so thankful for, that I'm away from that, and I'm also thankful that I'm like healthy and way better looking than them. They look like gargoyles, so I'm so glad I didn't get it. I must not be their biological son, because like there's no way I could be related to them. They're disgusting. But so I'm glad I'm healthy and look good. I'm so good looking, it's unbelievable. I just have so many girls liking me. But another thing is I had such a bad reputation. I'll get more into that. But the craziest, Lori would be like, no girl would ever want you. Like, you're an emotionally abuser. No girl would ever talk to you. Like, she would say all that kind of stuff to me every day. But I knew that none of that was true. Well, except the Meister does have a hard time talking to girls. But, in person, they love me. In person, they love me. Over text, they hate me. There's nothing I can do about that. But this was... No, he had black hair. My grandpa had red hair. I guess that's where I got it from, apparently. Well, I was created out of thin air by Gandalf. That's where I got it. And he wanted to make me unique with red hair, and there's barely any redheads in Texas. I'm like one of the only redheads in Texas. But anyway, to conclude the heroic legendary Mies story, part 3, I basically, to sum it up, I learned what I could possibly learn from getting bullied my entire life. It made me much stronger, and I was going into college with a better understanding of what to do against C. Lori, to combat that, and what to do in life in general to make my life better. I always make smart decisions, and I'll always continue to press on until the end of time and do whatever's best for me, and just literally never give up, even in the hardest of times, even if my life even got harder. But I think there's only good things to come. So guess what? I'm a fucking hero. I have never given up, and I never will. And a bald eagle is flying over the sky right now.